The street lamp flickered against the snow, casting long shadows across the empty road. He almost didn't see it. Just a small shape curled beneath the light, motionless, except for the wind pulling at its fur. At first he thought it was a stray kitten, but when he knelt down, his breath caught. The markings were wrong, the ears too sharp, the paws too wide. It was a bobcat kitten, and it was dying. He didn't think, he just moved, scooping the frozen body into his coat, feeling how light it was, how cold. The wind bit at his face as he ran toward his truck. The kitten pressed against his chest. Its breathing was so faint, he wasn't sure it was breathing at all. He drove faster than he should have, one hand on the wheel, the other cradling the small wild thing that had no business being here, alone, in the middle of a cold snap that could kill in hours. Inside his house, the warmth felt almost violent. He cleared the coffee table, spreading towels and heating pads, working with the kind of focus that comes from desperation. The bobcat's body was stiff, its paws curled inward, eyes sealed shut. He wrapped it slowly, carefully, the way you'd handle something precious and breakable. The vet had once told him, hypothermia kills in stages. You have to bring them back slowly, or the shock will finish what the cold started. So he waited, and warmed, and watched. The kitten didn't move for the first hour, then just barely, a twitch in one hind leg, a flutter beneath the eyelids. He leaned closer, his own hands shaking now, and whispered something he didn't plan to say out loud. Just hold on, just tonight. That's all you need to do. He told himself the same thing. Just one night. By morning, he'd call a wildlife rescue. They'd know what to do. They'd have the resources, the permits, the experience. He was just buying time. That's all this was. But then Milo appeared. The cat moved down the hallway with his usual slow curiosity, tail high, eyes scanning. He'd been hiding since the man came home. Milo didn't like disruptions, didn't like change, but now he approached the coffee table, drawn by something the man couldn't name. Instinct, maybe, or something older than that. The man tensed, ready to intervene. A bobcat, even a kitten, was still wild, still dangerous, in theory, and Milo was just a house cat, soft, sheltered, completely unprepared for what lay in front of him. But Milo didn't arch his back, or flatten his ears. He just stepped closer, nose twitching, and sat down beside the towel. For a long moment, he stared at the bobcat, unblinking. Then carefully, deliberately, he reached out one paw and touched the kitten's frozen ear, and then he began to groom it. The man didn't move, didn't breathe. He watched as Milo licked the bobcat's ears, its face, its tiny paws, slow, methodical strokes, the way a mother would. The bobcat stirred slightly, a faint sound escaping its throat, barely audible. Milo responded with a low rumble, something between a purr and a murmur, and adjusted his position, so his body pressed against the kitten's side. It didn't make sense. Milo had never acted this way before, not with other cats, not with strays at the door, not with anything. He was territorial, independent, sometimes aloof, but here he was, adopting a wild predator with the kind of certainty that didn't need explanation. The man sat back on the couch, his mind spinning. He'd planned to keep the bobcat isolated, safe from stress, safe from his own pets. But Milo had decided otherwise, and somehow, impossibly, it was working. The bobcat's breathing deepened, its body relaxed against the warmth, not just from the heating pad, but from Milo, who refused to leave. Hours passed. The man made calls, left voicemails with wildlife centers, searched online for protocols he only half understood. But every time he looked back at the coffee table, the scene was the same. Milo curled tight around the bobcat, eyes half closed, one paw resting protectively over the kitten's back. By midnight, the bobcat's eyes finally opened, just slits, just enough to see. It blinked slowly, unfocused, and then turned its head toward Milo. The house cat leaned in and touched his nose to the bobcat's, a gesture so gentle, it looked rehearsed. The man watched them in the dim light, something shifting in his chest. He'd told himself this was temporary, just one night. But as Milo settled deeper into the towels, the bobcat breathing steadily against him, he realized something had already changed. This wasn't just rescue, this was something else, something he didn't have a name for yet. And as the clock ticked past 1 in the morning, the man made a decision he couldn't explain, not to himself, not to anyone. He turned off the overhead light, left the heating pad on low, and went to grab a blanket. When he returned, he draped it over both of them, Milo and the bobcat, curled together like they'd known each other for years. "Just tonight," he whispered again, though the words felt thinner now. But deep down, he already knew. Morning would come, and nothing would be simple after that. Morning light filtered through the blinds, soft and pale. The man woke on the couch, stiff-necked and disoriented, and for a moment, he'd forgotten why he was there. Then he saw them. Milo was still curled around the bobcat, tighter than before, his body wrapped protectively along the kitten's spine. But the bobcat had changed overnight. Its breathing was stronger now, steady and deep. One tiny paw stretched outward, claws flexing against the towel, testing the world it had nearly left behind. The man exhaled slowly. It had survived the night. He reached for his phone to call the wildlife center, but stopped when Milo's eyes opened. The cat looked at him, not with his usual morning indifference, but with something sharper. A warning almost. "Don't." The bobcat stirred, a soft mewling sound escaping its throat. Milo immediately responded, grooming the kitten's face with quick, purposeful strokes. The bobcat leaned into it, eyes still closed, trusting completely. The man set the phone down. "Just a few more hours," he muttered, "until they open." But hours turned into days. The bobcat grew stronger with alarming speed. By the third day, it was eating solid food, shredded chicken at first, then raw meat. Milo watched it devour with calm approval. The kitten's legs steadied, its eyes brightened, and everywhere it went, Milo followed. The man tried separating them once, gently moving Milo to another room, while the bobcat rested. Milo yowled at the door, clawing at the frame, until the man gave in and let him back. The bobcat had been pacing too, small desperate circles, crying in a way that sounded too much like grief, so he stopped trying. Milo became the bobcat's entire world. He brought toys to its bed, crinkled balls and feathered wands, and meowed loudly whenever the kitten made a sound, as if translating, as if saying "I'm here." During naps, Milo curled around the bobcat the way he had that first night, his purrs a constant low hum. But the wildness was there too. The bobcat pounced with precision that didn't come from learning, it came from instinct. It climbed the curtains, stalked shadows, froze mid-step, to listen to sounds the man couldn't hear. And when it played with Milo, there were flashes of something untamed, quick strikes, too hard bites, movements too fast to follow. Yet Milo never flinched. He played back with the patience of someone who understood exactly what this was. Not a house cat, not a pet, something in between. The man watched them from the kitchen one evening, his coffee growing cold in his hand. The bobcat was teething on a chair leg, while Milo sat nearby, grooming himself, utterly unbothered. The wildlife center's number was still saved in his phone. He could call, he should call. But when he looked at them, at the way Milo's tail curved around the bobcat's body, at the way the kitten's eyes tracked Milo's every move, he realized something had shifted. This wasn't temporary anymore. This was something else, something unusual, something beautiful, and he had no idea what to do about it.
3 weeks in, the bobcat wasn't a kitten anymore. Its legs had lengthened, shoulders broadening beneath spotted fur that gleamed with health. The soft mewling had deepened into something closer to a growl, and when it played with Milo now, the strikes came harder, faster, paws that could pin, teeth that could puncture. But Milo never stopped trusting it. The man watched them wrestle on the living room floor, the bobcat rolling Milo onto his back with ease, jaws closing gently around the house cat's throat. It was a wild move, a hunting move, but Milo just purred, batting lazily at the bobcat's face, completely unafraid. The man wasn't so sure anymore. He'd finally called the wildlife center. The woman on the phone had been kind but firm. The bobcat was healthy, strong, ready for transition. Keeping it longer would only make release harder for everyone involved. "Bring him in next week," she'd said. "We'll start the rewilding process." He'd agreed. He'd even written the date on the calendar. But every time he looked at Milo curled beside the bobcat in the afternoon sun, something in his chest tightened. He built an enclosure in the yard, larger, open to the sky, filled with platforms and logs and places to climb. A halfway space. A test. The bobcat explored it immediately, ears swiveling toward every sound, body low and alert. It stalked insects through the grass, climbed to the highest platform, scanned the tree line with eyes that seemed to recognize something the man couldn't see. This was what it was meant for. The wild, the forest, freedom. But every evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, the bobcat pressed against the glass door, staring inside, waiting for Milo. And Milo always came. He'd sit on the other side of the glass, nose to nose with the bobcat, slow blinking in that way cats do when they mean I love you. Sometimes they'd stay like that for an hour, neither moving, just being together. The man stood in the doorway one night, watching them, and felt the weight of the decision settle over him like snow. Letting the bobcat go was the right thing, the ethical thing. It deserved a life in the wild, not trapped in a house it had outgrown. But what about Milo? What about the bond they'd built, the one that didn't make sense, that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did? He thought about the way Milo had cried when they were separated, the way the bobcat still searched for him in every room, the way they'd saved each other in ways he was only beginning to understand. The stronger the bobcat became, the clearer the truth, he couldn't keep it. But letting go meant breaking something neither of them, not him, not Milo, were ready to lose. Spring was coming, and with it, a goodbye neither of them wanted. Spring arrived with green light, filtering through new leaves. The bobcat stood at the edge of the enclosure, muscles coiled, eyes fixed on the forest beyond. It wasn't a kitten anymore. It was wild, powerful, and undeniably ready. The man opened the gate with the wildlife staff, watching from a distance. Milo sat beside him on the porch, tail wrapped around his paws, silent. The bobcat turned back once, just once, and locked eyes with Milo. Then it stepped forward, paused at the threshold, and disappeared into the trees without a sound. The house felt wrong after that. Too quiet, too empty. Milo wandered room to room, crying softly, a sound the man had never heard from him before. He'd stop at the glass door, stare into the yard, wait, then move on, searching for something that wasn't there anymore. The man tried everything, new toys, extra treats, long hours sitting with Milo in his lap. But nothing filled the space the bobcat had left behind. At night the man lay awake, wondering if he'd made a mistake, if love should have mattered more than instinct, if keeping them together would have been kinder than letting go. Then 3 weeks later, the trail camera blinked. He'd set it up on the edge of the property, more out of habit than hope. But when he checked the footage, his breath caught. There, clear as daylight, stood the bobcat, bigger now, healthier, coat thick and gleaming. It was staring directly at the house, ears forward, completely still. And in the audio, faint but unmistakable, 2 soft meows, responding to something the camera had picked up seconds earlier. Milo, crying from the porch. The man didn't think, he just opened the door. Milo bolted outside, moving faster than he had in weeks. The bobcat stepped from the tree line, not all the way, but close enough. They met in the middle of the yard, nose to nose, the way they always had. Milo rubbed his face against the bobcat's cheek. The bobcat closed its eyes, leaning in, just for a moment. Then it stepped back, looked at the man, looked at Milo one last time, and turned toward the forest. Milo didn't follow, he just sat in the grass, watching, until the bobcat disappeared into the shadows. Then he walked back to the porch, jumped into the man's lap, and purred. The man sat there as the sun set, Milo warm against his chest, the forest quiet and alive in front of them. The bobcat was gone, but it wasn't lost. It had found what it needed, freedom, and the knowledge that love didn't have to be a cage. He stayed only one night, but he left a bond that lasted a lifetime.